breaking Microsoft to cut 650 more gaming jobs. Impact largely expected to hit corporate and support roles at Activision Blizzard. No games nixed, no top executives leaving. Second big post-ABK merger cut of 2024. From Stephen Totilo here. Microsoft will lay off approximately 650 people from its gaming team. The company head of gaming, Phil Spencer, told employees in an email to team members this morning. Spencer framed them in the context of Microsoft's October's 2023 $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard. As part of aligning our post-acquisition team structure and managing our business, we have made the decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and supporting functions, to organize our business for long-term success, Spencer wrote. The majority of the cuts will impact people in those corporate and support roles at Activision Blizzard, according to a source familiar with the matter. And this is the second round of major cuts of Microsoft's gaming division this year. In January, the company said it would be laying off 1,900 workers across Xbox, ZeniMax, Bethesda, and most heavily, Activision Blizzard. Now, those cuts also included the cancellation of at least one gaming project at Blizzard. This time around, no games, devices, or experiences will be cut, per Spencer's notes. None of the business unit leaders at Xbox or its affiliated gaming teams will be cut either, according to the source familiar. Now, throughout the last 2 years, game companies that had expanded greatly after the pandemic lockdown-driven industry boom have enacted deep cuts. Sony's PlayStation team, which bought more than half a dozen studios since 2021, announced in February that the layoffs of 900 workers, with more cut at its Bungie studios announced over the summer. That ended years of expanding headcount at PlayStation. Riot, which said to have doubled its workforce since 2019, announced the cut of more than 500 workers in January. Dude, it's not even just the gaming world. In February, Spencer told GameFile that the 1,900 cuts were needed to keep Microsoft's gaming team on track with goals set by the overall company. I have a commitment to the company on the Xbox business being a profitable and growing part of Microsoft, he said at the time, and I need to put us in the best position for long-term growth. Most of that is about building great products that exceed their expectations and finding millions of customers. But honestly, you know the cost of building the products inclusive of the people who work on them. I need to make sure we have enough of the right people and the right number of people in the right places for us to succeed. Man, dude, that is like the same quote Pete Parsons says, right? The right people. And look, I'm not looking at, I haven't even looked at Microsoft's financials, but there's been a lot of mistakes we could look at what Xbox has done literally over the past decade that could fill a video for hours. The point is like Xbox has made a bunch of acquisitions. I think Activision is working out pretty well for them, but that's the, you got what you had the Redfall, you had Starfield. I wasn't that crazy about Starfield, but I heard Starfield sold pretty well, but I wasn't crazy about it. To me, Bethesda's kind of lost their magic. At the same time, if they were to roll out the next Elder Scrolls game tomorrow, I would be all over it. I'd be playing it for sure. Keep in mind, like when you look at Microsoft and Sony side by side, like Microsoft is substantially larger. Okay, market cap is through the roof, way beyond anything that Sony is operating at. Now, that doesn't mean we can't necessarily, and what he says right here, the Xbox business being a profitable, growing part of Microsoft. That's what he's referring to, not Microsoft as a whole. And the Xbox portion, let's just be real, they've been getting their asses beat by Sony, I would say, for the past decade. Since the move from 360 to Xbox One, Xbox has been losing. And I think the numbers were 5-1. For every one Xbox that is sold, 5 PlayStations are being sold. Now, Microsoft's financial outlook for its next fiscal quarter ending September 30th assumes revenue growth for its gaming team in the mid 30% range, with 40% coming from Activision Blizzard, which also encompasses the mobile gaming operation at King, Candy Crush. That suggests that, without factoring in ABK, Microsoft would expect its gaming revenue to be down. And Microsoft's overall operating income for the year ending June 30th, 2024 was $109 billion, up from the year before. And the company has several major game releases ahead this fall, including Activision's Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which is expected to be one of the biggest games of the year. Black Ops pretty good, man. No lie, dude. Omni movement is next level. I don't think anyone's played the zombies outside the people that may have actually went there to play zombies, but hopefully we can play it in a beta. But the betas, they've been good, man. And the full text of Spencer's letter from this morning is below. Subject changes to Microsoft Gaming. Last year, our goal has been to minimize disruption while welcoming new teams and enabling them to do their best work. As part of aligning our post-acquisition team structure and managing our business, we have made a decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and supporting functions, to organize our business for long-term success. I know that this is difficult news to hear. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of our colleagues who are learning who are learning, they are impacted. In the US, we're supporting them with exit packages that include severance, extended healthcare, and outplacement services to help with their transition. Outside the US, packages will differ according to location. With these changes, our corporate and supporting teams and resources are aligned for sustainable growth, future growth, and can better support our studio teams and business units with programs and resources that can scale to meet their needs. Separately, as part of running the business, there are some impacts to other teams as they adapt to shifting priorities and managing the lifecycle and performance of games. No games, devices, or experiences are being canceled, and no studios are being closed as part of these adjustments today. Throughout our team's history, we have had great moments and we have had challenging ones. Today is one of the challenging days. I know that going through more changes like this is hard, but even in the most trying times, this team has been able to come together and show one another care and kindness as we work to continue delivering for our players. We appreciate your support as we navigate these changes, and we thank you for your compassion and respect for each other. Phil. All right, so another huge round of layoffs, guys. We did a video back in January going over the layoffs. It was just insane. At the time, we speculated this year could potentially be worse because January was so bad in itself, and it has continued to be bad. Now, let me ask you something, guys. Microsoft's gaming division, where are they headquartered? You guys are saying Redmond. Dude, that's rough, man. That's rough. How far away is Redmond from Seattle? 30 minutes. Okay, so they're practically kind of like Bungie in Bellevue. Dude, that whole area, you have a ton of people that move to the Seattle, Redmond, Bellevue area to work at these companies, dude. And there is just wave after wave of them that are now unemployed. And then you have studios. I want to say the studio that did Concord is also located right there in that area. And I don't know what's going to happen to that studio either. They could go in there, buckle down, redo something to Concord. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps they might see some substantial cuts. I don't know, man. I guess my other question is how are your Korean-based studios doing? How are your Chinese-based studios doing? Are they experiencing the same level of layoffs? I haven't actually looked into it. Are they also laying off a number of people? Are they seeing major contractions? Well, my concern, and not that I'm concerned about, at the end of the day, I don't care who makes the games. China, Korea, whoever. You know what I mean? If it's fun games, it's fun games. That's the only thing that matters to me. But if I was located or if I was a developer here in the West, in America, I would be a bit concerned, right? Because layoffs like these, I mean, in some ways, when you see it as many of them that are happening, you got to wonder, is this going to, at some point, do we cannibalize our companies? And then when you cannibalize yourself, that's a perfect opportunity for outside developers to swoop in with games like Wukong. And again, as gamers, we win no matter, like we win on that front because we just want to play good games. I'm speaking from just a business perspective there. But I think these outside developers, man, are going to really start taking a lot of our time. Companies fire people all the time. I don't understand why the gaming community gets so upset. Amoru, this is not normal, buddy. I know companies fire people or let go people, but when you look at the past year and a half and you've seen the wave of layoffs that have occurred, this is not just your normal, like, okay, we got rid of a few people here and there. This is not normal. Gaming will be dead by 2030. I don't think gaming is good. There's too much money in gaming, guys. Yes, you have stories like Concord, where they made $1 million, but overhead was $200 million. And then you have stories like Wukong, where they made like, what was it, $800 million? I think it was like $800 million. So you have companies like Palworld. Palworld's another game that had massive success. What you're seeing here, though, is like, yes, you have some games that absolutely miss, and you have some games that absolutely crush. So therefore, you're going to have people still making video games. Wow, Wukong's overhead was $70 million. They grossed $800 million. That's freaking nuts, brother. That is nuts, man. That's so impressive. I agree with that statement right there, Mr. Hungry. It's like the movie industry. Dude, you have movies that pop off and kill, and then you have movies that just sink everything. And subsequently, any sequels and whatnot, we were talking about it earlier, sequels get shut down as well. So same exact thing here. So I think people are going to keep making video games. There's just too much money in it. There really is. There's too much money in it. The question is who is going to be able to make them the best? And right now, at least outwardly looking in, guys, here in the US, we're kind of getting our asses beat. When we talk about the games that have heavily profited the most, it seems like overseas developers are really, really getting it, man. The cost in the US is too high compared to other countries. Yeah, I mean, it could be that, you know, maybe that's it. Maybe that, or that's a contributing factor. Could be ideologies are a bit different. Could be that some of these companies here in the US are just too top heavy, and for years, again, I keep going back to that same clip from Steve Jobs where he talks about some companies, once they have this monopoly share on everything, that the only way they can make more money, or the only way they think they can make more money, is to move people in marketing in places of leadership. And what that does is that erodes the creativity within the company itself, because people in creative roles get pushed out. And so I kind of feel like we may be seeing that happening in real time. The folks that are the nuts and bolts guys, that are the creative leads, the actual creators themselves, are not in positions of leadership. And yeah, that's that. I will say about the layoffs right here, guys, it's unfortunate that this has just become a norm to the point where this is just like another round of layoffs. Okay, I feel like we've seen this happening month over month. I don't know if it's going to stop. And, you know, hopefully the developers that are getting hit by this can find a place, and, you know, maybe it can be with one of those overseas developers. I don't know, though. I don't know. There's no reason to care about this unless you're a developer. So turns out, as humans, we develop relationships with people. And a lot of my relationships include developers who I've talked to a number of times, who I've met with, who I've had lunch with, who I do in fact care about. And then on top of that, I know them and their families, some of which actually worked at Bungie. I think it's completely fine to empathize with folks that just lost their job. I think we'll just have to see how this plays out in the long run, and we'll see if Xbox can pull it back. But I also have to agree. Skillup said it this past week in his video. Sony pretty much has pretty much won console game. They're kind of the, you know, outside of, you know, you got Nintendo, which has their exclusives, and then you've got Sony, which is still pumping, man. And, you know, they've pretty much won. They won a long time ago, but I mean, it's like, I still maintain, just get a PC, guys. And this is not a Starforge ad. They do sell good PCs, but get a PC. Phil says he doesn't care about console wars anymore. Probably not. Phil probably cares about Candy Crush. I mean, I'm just saying, you just bought Activision Blizzard. You got King there. You know, I remember we sat in, this is when Bungie was owned by, or they were affiliated there with Activision, right? And we would sit in for quarterly calls and listen to it. And when they would give off the numbers for their games and what their games have pulled out, and they would actually, Destiny wasn't in its own category. It would be just lumped up with some other games. But they would give off their numbers, and it was like, that's a big number. I mean, all these numbers are huge, right? Then they would get to Candy Crush. And dude, the numbers that fucking Candy Crush would do every quarter. Who is buying this shit? Insanity to me. So yeah, I'm sure Activision Blizzard is doing just fine for Microsoft. Candy Crush is still pumping out money. It blows my mind. Blows my mind. I haven't played Candy Crush in well over a decade, and I didn't really care about it when I played it. But it is insane how much money Candy Crush pulls in. Everyone's got a phone, and that's why we're getting Destiny on mobile. Hallelujah.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.